Do you need a license to sell tea? Do you need a permit to sell tea online? Well, in this video, I'm actually got a handful of your subscriber questions here on my laptop. I'm gonna dive into those questions about how to get a tea business up and running directly from you, our subscribers. We're gonna dive into those questions right now. All right, guys, so welcome back to Marketing Food Online. And in this video, I actually got a handful of your questions here on my laptop. I want to dive into the questions about tea business and how to get one up and running. There's a lot of you that have actually asked about starting one from home, and if you have the ability to actually ship it through the mail from your home to other customers in other states. So there's a lot of great questions about how to get a tea business up and running. So I'm going to dive into those right now. And of course, if this is your first video or brand new to Marketing Food Online, definitely hit the subscribe button over there, and then you can check out all of our videos. We have over 1,000 videos, and we have over 100,000 subscribers. We've got 50 countries watching us here on YouTube, so we're super excited about that as well. So let me dive into these questions. I'm just gandering over here at my laptop. So can I make my own tea and sell it, Damien? This is actually from Chris Yelliston. Yes, Chris. So that is a great question. If you wanted to make your own tea and sell it, predominantly most states actually have cottage food laws, again, which, like a lot of our videos that we talk about, most food businesses, if not all food businesses, actually start somewhere at the home. But selling tea is most states actually do allow that. But the thing about it is that you can sell tea leaves, and you can sell like roasted coffee beans and teas of that sort with just the leaves, not necessarily brewing it and making it as a drink. If you're looking to create a ready-made to drink tea beverage business, that's normally not something that's allowed actually from home under cottage food laws. You'd have to get into like a commercial kitchen or create yourself some type of commercial food facility where you can brew it, you can make it, and you can bottle it, because the processing for that and actually almost like a canning process, when you start to put that into bottles and such, you need to follow strict and specific guidelines, which you'd actually have your facility inspected by the Department of Agriculture, most likely. Your facility also would have to be FDA registered. They do have a regulation that FDA does. Any facility that's on a commercial production facility of food or anything that's related to human consumption of food products has to be registered with the FDA. So it gets a little bit more intricate and involved. But as far as selling tea and tea leaves, if you want to buy them in bulk, break them down and then private label or make them yourself, that's something that's normally you can do through your state's cottage food laws. And from my understanding, almost every state allows some form of coffee beans roasted as well as tea leaves to be made, dried, or you can actually produce them and buy them yourself in bulk, like I mentioned, and then repackage them. So can I make my own tea and sell it? Yes and kind of no. Just make sure that it's not an actually ready-made drink or a beverage, because that would actually be something you would have to get done in a commercial facility. So great question. Next one up is, do you need a permit to sell tea online specifically? Now, there is no necessarily having a permit for online businesses, but you do have to, most likely in your city and county, you'll have to have a business license or a permit or some type of inspection of your facility when you're on a commercial scale, as like similar to what I just mentioned, that you would need to have, of course, business license and also food business insurance. Is there a specific type of permit to have it online? Not necessarily. You want to make sure with your city and county, though, when you fill out your business license, some of those applications actually have a little box there that'll say e-commerce or a brick and mortar if you're looking to open up a retail location, or if you're actually going to be doing this through the internet. I know that when we actually opened our commercial kitchen, if I remember right, it's about 12 years ago, we filled out the business application and we had to tick the little box that said e-commerce or online business too. Because we have just a commercial kitchen, we're not open necessarily to the public, so I don't have a brick and mortar business. So if you need a permit to sell tea online specifically, yes and no. Again, you don't necessarily have to have a online permitting, but you need to make sure that you have a business license that is within your city or county that allows you to transact business, interstate business. Of course, you'll have interstate commerce because you'll be probably shipping your tea, I would imagine, over state lines, making sure that you have the right permits and such. And of course, any inspections that you would have to have, predominantly, most likely from the Department of Agriculture. The health department inspects normally facilities such as cafes or eateries where people are coming in and eating. The Department of Agriculture, when it comes to food facilities that are manufacturing or producing food products, that normally falls under their category. So that was a great question, but the permit as far as selling tea online. Now, next up, do you need a license to sell tea? So, yeah, so similar to what I mentioned, you will need a license of some kind or permitting in order for you to sell your tea, especially if you're doing it, again, bottled teas or ready-to-made drink teas, or if you're making those types of teas and then wholesaling it. You'll need to make sure you have the right permitting and licensing for wholesaling itself too, which is slightly different than just a traditional retail store where you're just going to be producing and making stuff. Can I sell tea without FDA approval? Okay, so this is a really good question. So the FDA doesn't necessarily give you a thumbs up or thumbs down approval. The FDA is actually established to give you guidance and guidelines about labeling products, how to manufacture products safely, what they expect as far as inspections, what they expect as far as labeling for those particular drinks, or if it happens to be tea beverages. But as I mentioned before at the beginning, you do have to register your facility if you're manufacturing, storing, wholesaling, warehousing, distributing any type of food product that's going to be made for human consumption. That would be tea as well. Yes, the FDA would have to have that facility registered with them. So you basically fill out that form on the FDA website. If it's like Damien's Tea Company, you need to have the address put down. You need to have all the information they require. And in some cases, I believe they actually do request like business licenses and stuff like that as well. And what they do for that is that make sure that the FDA knows that if there's ever a recall, or if there's ever an issue with your tea or something that you're making, then they have a way to trace that. It's traceability to goes back to your facility, so they know. You say, hey, Damien, we've got some responses. You know, some people are getting sick. We might think there's like a E. coli breakout with your tea leaves or your teas that you're producing. So they want to make sure that there's some traceability. There's a trail, paper trail in a sense. So yes, you do need to have registered with the FDA. It's not necessarily an approval process though. How do I start a small tea business? Okay, so basically that encompasses what we've been talking about. I recommend you highly not do the commercial kitchen route or open an entire facility without proof of concept. You may like teas. You may have an idea to make a brewed tea business, a bottled tea or canned teas. That sounds great, but don't invest a lot of money if you don't have a history, a sales history of it, or a proof of concept with your type of tea. So if you're looking to start a small tea business, how do I do that? I would say do it from home. Do it with the small like loose tea, leaf tea bags, buying it again in bulk and then breaking it down. The profit margins are considerably better that way. And you're not actually having to dry teas or source them yourself. You can simply just buy them in bulk online. You can get them in 5, 10, I think even 20-pound bags. And that's a lot of tea, by the way. So you want to get that and break it down and then label it. Of course, make sure that you're following the labeling guidelines to resell it, and you've got all the information that's required for the tea itself when it's a loose leaf tea. But I say, how do I start a small tea business from home? I think would be the best route to go, because if it doesn't work out, you don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars, even tens of thousands of dollars wrapped up in a facility that's going to lose money or potentially put you in bankruptcy if it doesn't work out. So you're not going to lose as much money, basically, as what I'm saying is if you start it from home. You can invest very little at a time. You can take small steps and grow it. I would recommend you do that if you're looking to create a small tea business. But again, keep in mind that brewing teas and bottling it and selling a ready-made beverage is not normally allowed. Under cottage food laws, you would have to get out into a commercial kitchen. So those are 5 great questions that we had there about how to start a tea business. If you've got any other questions about tea business in general, let me know down below. We just started to do these videos now, bringing up you guys' subscriber questions and then answering them here on our channel. So definitely check out the rest of our videos. We have a handful, actually, great. I think we got about 12 or 13 videos here on our channel about tea businesses in general, selling them online, different ways to sell teas and such. So if they were helpful, definitely check them out, and I'll see you guys on our next video.